Hey there everyone, welcome back. It's nice to see you again. Today we're going to chat about creativity and how we can use creativity in the business world. First of all, I would like to leave this question with you, and I'll come back to it later at the end. I want to ask you, do you believe that you are creative? Can you answer that to yourself? In most cases, when I ask this to my classes, very few learners can actually say yes, and we'll get to that a bit later. As I said, first we need to be clear on what creativity is. Now, I know there are a lot of different definitions, and every person's got his or her own opinion on what creativity is, and that's just it. Creativity is not there's not really a set definition for creativity. The well-known Sir Richard Branson once said, most people refer to being creative as thinking outside of the box. But why do you need a box? Why don't we just take the box and throw it away? Why does there need to be a box? So that's what creativity is for him. Most textbooks will describe creativity as a different way of thinking, where normal thoughts might not do everything or think in the same way as this specific thought. So yeah, it's something different. Creativity is something different. It can be done in a certain way. It can be your thoughts. It can be your way of just going through the normal routines day by day. So creativity, there's no set definition for creativity. As long as it's something different to what you're used to, it can be seen as creative. All right, so now that we know what creativity is, let's look at how it can be used in the business world. Now, the business world is it's a very broad field, and sometimes what works in one field might not necessarily work in another field, because there are different needs and a lot of other different factors that play big roles. But let's look at the basics of creativity in the business world. Now, in most cases where you need to be creative in business is when it comes to problem solving. Now, there are certain problem solving techniques that we can use, and I'm quickly going to look at three techniques. The first one is what we call the problem solving cycle. Now, that's where you go through a certain number of steps to solve a problem. The first step is to acknowledge the problem and to recognize the problem. Step two is where you define the problem to better understand what the problem is. In step three, it's where you consider all possible solutions to that problem. And in step four, you actually pick the best solution that you think is going to do the job for you. Step five is where you actually apply that solution and you put it into practice. And then step six is where you stand back at the end and you evaluate the results of your solution. If in step 7 it was not successful, then you go back and you correct your mistakes. If it was successful, then obviously problem solved. So that's the problem solving cycle. The second one that I want to talk to you about is what we call brainstorming. Now, brainstorming is a term that might be very familiar to most of you, but what is brainstorming? It's actually very simple to understand. Brainstorming is what we do when we have to get a solution for a problem in a very short space of time. That's where you get a group of people together that know a lot about this specific problem or a topic that you are dealing with, and then they sit together, and within a few minutes or hours they can have a few solutions to that problem. Just take this for example. Let's say we get 5 learners together to fix one problem. Within a space of minutes, we can have 5 solutions to one problem just by each learner providing one solution. So it's very effective when you need a solution in a short space of time. Then the third problem-solving technique is what we call association. Now that's where you take familiar things that you already know, that everyone is familiar with, and you try to link it or associate it with unfamiliar factors, and maybe then you'll get a better understanding of what the problem is and how it can be solved. The fourth and final technique that I'm quickly going to discuss with you is what we simply call a question and answer session. That's where you ask questions to experts on a specific topic, and by doing that you learn how to look at the specific situation, and that will also improve your chances of getting to a better solution. So that's how you can apply creativity in a problem-solving environment in your business. But some people see creativity as something that is not for them. Remember, I asked you in the beginning, do you believe that you are creative? Well, I would guess that most of you said no. That's the first mistake that people make when it comes to creativity. They believe that they are not creative, and that's just the way it is. I'm not creative. I'm going to leave it there. Creativity is for the clever people. Now, I couldn't disagree more. It's not to say that if you are creative, you are clever, and if you are not creative, you are not clever. There's no link between your IQ and creativity. Anyone can be creative. So that's the first problem with creativity, and we call these problems blocks. Things stopping you from being creative. So right, the first one, you don't believe that you are creative. The second one is your outlook on the problem instead of looking for solutions. Some people focus on the problem instead of looking for possible ways that they can solve this problem. I think it's Einstein that said, be careful of negative people because they've got a problem for every solution. Don't be like that. Come up with a solution for every problem and focus on that. And then the third block that you can use, or that you can that can maybe prevent you from being creative, is your routines, your daily routines. Some of us just settle for what we have right now. We accept what we have and we carry on. And then every single day we complain about what we have. It's not good enough. It's not effective enough. It's not what you like. Whatever the problem might be. But you keep on doing the same thing over and over again. A lot of people in life do, or rather they put in the same thing, but then they expect something else at the end. And when it doesn't work that way, then they ask the questions, but why? They don't understand. Well, you keep on putting the same stuff in. It's like baking a cake. And when you put in all the eggs and the flour and the milk and the sugar and the everything, then you expect some, I don't know what you expect, but it's not, you expect something totally different from a cake. I mean, what did you expect? You put in the same ingredients every single day, so you're going to get the same thing every single day. Right. So be careful to get stuck in a certain routine. But let's look at ways to overcome these blocks. The first thing, or the first way that you can improve your creativity, is obviously by believing in yourself. I can be creative. Tell yourself that every single day. Creativity, as I said in the beginning, doesn't have a set definition. Something that's creative to you can be just a normal thing for me, and vice versa. So every single day, go out there and look for certain ways to be creative. Look for opportunities. As you drive to work, as you drive to school, think about it. Start asking questions. Challenge certain routines in your mind. Start asking why we do certain things in a certain way. Maybe you will come up with a better idea. Maybe you will understand that way of doing much better. That's the flip side of the coin. And then the third way that you can improve your creativity is by actually changing your routine. Make certain conscious decisions to do things differently. By doing that, you will get a different perspective to certain situations. And then how can you apply it in the business world? Let's look at a few examples. These days, a lot of new businesses have been started by delivery services. They realize that there's actually a need for people to get products from point A to B. Sometimes people need transport for themselves from point A to B. I mean, look at Uber, for example. Some people actually sold their cars and make use of Uber on a daily basis because it's cheaper for them. You don't have to pay a car installment. You don't have to pay fuel. You don't have to pay insurance. Rather take that money and use it on Uber. That's just one example of delivery services that I can think of. During the coronavirus times, a lot of businesses didn't have the opportunity of getting customers into their business itself. So what did they do? They had to think of delivery services. They still had to pay their employees because it's not their fault that they're not making money. So those people still want to come to work. So you have to give them work to do. So that's why a lot of businesses opened delivery services. That's one way of solving a problem in a creative manner. Another way that we can be creative is by complementary products, where two products go together, combine them and sell them as one unit. For example, bricks and cement. I mean, you're going to build something. Chances are you're going to need both. So why not sell them together? It's a creative way of improving or making your sale figures higher. The third example is where a lot of businesses use colors to attract the attention of potential customers. I mean, look at a baby. What's the first thing that draws their attention? Colors. That's how we work. And that's a creative way of drawing your potential customers' attention. And then a fourth and final example that we can use in creativity is your words of choice when it comes to marketing. I mean, listen to television ads. They don't tell you what the price is. They tell you all the things that you want to hear. They tell you all the things that the product can do to make your life easier. And then at the very end of that ad, they spend a small amount of time on the price. Why? Because that's the negative part. And they know that. That's the part that you do not want to hear. So that's why they don't spend as much time on that. They rather spend 90% of the ad on positive things, because that's what people like, positive things. And then 10% or even less on the negative, the price. So I hope you learned something about creativity. There are still a lot of other ways in being creative out there. So I want to encourage you to go out there and to look for opportunities, because we can really do with more creative people in this world. Stay safe and thanks for watching. Cheers.